All right, welcome to Chapter 5 Lecture Notes. The decision structure, the if statement. How many people have heard of an if statement? And you used it in the different languages. It's really an if then else statement, even though you don't see a then here. It's implied. In other languages, you do use the then. Um, So the if statement works with uh, a statement or expression which is evaluated by the computer and needs to be a Boolean expression. In other words, when it sees that expression, it has to be either true or false. Okay? Boolean is true or false. And then we use all the operators. And again, you're familiar with these operators. Why do we have to use the double equal sign here? Anybody know?
When something is equal.
Why? What actually happens if you only use one equal sign?
You're declaring it as a variable.
You're just setting a constant to an actual value.
Yeah, it's an assignment. So you are assigning the variable a value when you use one equal sign. Two equal signs, you're comparing. Okay. The other thing is, what about this not? Does everybody, where it says not equal, does everybody understand that? Okay. And for you SQL Server users, what what do you what do you use for SQL Server? Yeah, for not equal.
A less than and a greater than.
Exactly. So why did I tell you that? Because different formats for different languages. Okay. But a lot of languages use this format. Now, the one thing that I didn't mention to the earlier class, but I'm going to make this video available to them, is that with strings, unlike other languages, we can only do equals or not equals when we compare strings. So C# doesn't let you do greater than or less than, where some other languages would let you. Okay. And so right here is a very simple if statement. Okay. If I department equals 5, then set the variable D bonus equal to 0.10. Okay. Now you could have did this on one line, but why do we like two lines? Anybody know?
For clarity.
Yes. Yeah. Readability, best practices, maybe you might want to say, but you could do it do it on one line. And look, sometimes it might make sense to do it. Okay. But typically we like to do two lines. Okay. And we'll be talking about block statements in a second. What does 0.10 M mean? 10.10 decimal.
Yeah, 10%. Because you can like when you divide it by 100 will be 10.
Okay, but
When you
if I didn't put the M there, what would it be?
you're gonna get an error.
No. Well, it depends how you use it, okay? And it depends how this is defined. And we got to remember that there's implicit conversion,
Yeah, can happen.
okay? Except it doesn't, implicit conversion doesn't work between double and decimal. So by default, 0.10 would be double data type. Okay? But when you put the M, it's decimal
Yeah, will be
data
implicit-
type.
Will be implicitly converted to decimal.
Hmm?
Will be implicitly converted to decimal.
It's in, yeah. So M is actually a conversion to to decimal. Okay? Just a FYI, so you know what's going on. All right? All right. So, so we get Jimmy. All right. So, moving on to the next page. Page 2. Notice how we use the braces for a decision block. Okay? And in this decision, this if statement, if I hours is greater than 40, that means did the employee work overtime or not? If they work greater than 40 hours, then we have to figure out what their overtime hours are. That would be I hours minus 40. And we would add 1 to our count overtime people. Okay. And then so we're doing 2 things here. Okay. If it's true. So when we do more than one statement, okay, we have to enclose those statements with braces. And that's what that squiggly sideways mustache looks like. That's a brace. Okay. So we have to enclose things with a brace. Other thing to note here is that this was the old way of adding 1 to a counter. This is the new way. You could do plus equals. Okay? Just so you know. So this is an if statement that only has a true branch, but it has multiple statements that will run if the I hours is greater than 40. Okay? We can have a dual alternative decision structure. So this is the if it's true right here. If it's false, we can do something else. Okay. So this is the if else statement. Again, we want to make sure that we are indenting. This I hours ought to be indented. I overtime hours should be indented. Okay. All right. So again, even though you don't need to indent within the braces, you can and you should, because best practices probably dictate that. All right. All right. All right. I just see a few of you jumped on, so let me make sure I got everybody marked. Let's see. All right. I have to go through this every so often. G. All right. I think I got everybody. And I know some of you are on that are in class. Okay. And that's fine. All right. Variables that have block scope. Okay. How many people, anybody could tell me about scope? Variable scope. All right, I'll tell you. So we've said that a variable can have class scope, in other words, available to any method within the class, we've said that a variable could have method scope. It's only available to things in the method. And then it goes bye-bye. It no longer exists in memory. But you can also have block scope, okay? And what's that mean? That means that if I were to define a variable right here, for example, I might say, instead of going right to LBL message.text, I might go to str message, okay? And then later on, let it equal down here. So that would be only within the block, things that are surrounded by the braces. Okay? Make sense? All right. So we're doing pretty good right now. All right. Let's go look at something else here. You can also use else if. Has everybody seen the else if before? So
Yes.
right here, you know, and this is how it would look in a flow chart. Okay, the diamonds are always decisions. The blocks are some type of processing. This is output. Okay, but in this case, as we go down the steps, you could see how you would code that here. Okay. Then ultimately, whatever you set S grade is equal to, that you would display that. Make sense? A little complicated. So this is one way to do it. This is the less code way to do it. Now, which way do you like better? Do you like this way or do you like this way?
If
Go with the other one.
else if statement.
Which way?
You gotta go with the other one.
This
Else if
one?
state-
All that?
One of them have the same.
Yes.
Or you like this one?
The one is organized.
Oh, this one above?
Yeah, the other one.
Oh, the other one.
No, the other one, the upper.
The upper one.
Yeah.
All right. Why would you like the upper one?
More organized.
More nice,
Yeah, can be read.
more pretty. I was calling it pretty. Can we call code pretty?
I will.
Okay. It's more pretty, it's more readable, right? Now, I'm not opposed to this one, okay? By the way. The only thing I might do different here is I might indent all the else's, okay? But other than that, I think this looks fine too. The reason I would indent the else ifs is because I would want people to know it's one statement. Okay. All right. So we're going to come back to this shortly. Now, there's another way that you can do a real quick if then else. It's this conditional expression right here. Use a conditional operator, which is this question mark. And so basically you look at a Boolean expression. If it's true, do this. If it's false, do this. So these are usually one-liners, and you can see how that is done down here. So if discount percent equals subtotal greater than equal to 100, then it should be true. If it's true, it's this. If it's false, it's this. Okay, I've never used this statement. So, but you could if you wanted to. All right. So what would happen here is it would evaluate this expression right here, subtotal greater than equal to 100. If it's true, it would set discount percent to 0.10. If it was false, it would set discount percent to 0.505. Okay. But this is a Boolean expression right here. Subtotal greater than equal to 100. Make sense?
We have to use the double equal, right?
Which one?
Double equal in the second and third example.
Right here?
No, the before.
Yeah. So what it's doing here is that it's actually assigning one of two values to it. Okay. So this equals is an assignment. That's why there's only one equal sign.
It's right with one equal sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So because it's actually assigning either this or this based off this Boolean expression right here. Okay. So when it sees this question mark, it knows that it's going to be one of two values.
The ternary operator.
Now, look, is this the most readable code in the world? No. Okay. But it is valid. And the problem is somebody like me would have to think about this. Sometimes you want these things to be so in your face that you understand them. You don't have to think about them. But in this case, I'd have to think because I haven't seen this format before in any other language. Make sense? All right. So this is a ternary operator because it has three operands. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. The switch statement. How many people have taken C or C++ or C anything? Nobody? Okay. How many people have heard of a switch statement? Have you?
I have.
Okay, good. What languages?
Dot.
What?
Dot.
DOS?
Dot. D-A-R-T.
Oh, Dart. Okay, how about PHP? Okay, you've taken PHP? Okay, all right. I like PHP
I'm not sure if it's in PHP though.
or Python.
Python.
Python? Okay. All right. Let's talk about the switch statement. Now, in different languages, this might be called a case statement, but it does use a case. All right. So this is how the syntax is. A few things to know. The switch expression, whatever that might be, could be a variable. And then it's going to compare it to these expressions down here. Okay. It might be a constant number, might be a constant variable, it might be an expression. Okay. So all those are valid right here. Notice how each case that the switch statement could be has a colon by it. Okay. And so you can have as many of these as you like. Also, you'll see a break after that. So you'll see, you can have a number of statements here. Okay. And then
Isn't
you'll
this
have a
mainly
break.
used for loops?
Say what?
Isn't this mainly used for loops sometimes?
A loop?
Yeah,
Hmm,
we can use
I don't
switch
know.
statements for loops.
Same as if conditional.
If what?
It is the same as if conditional statement.
Well, we're going to see that shortly.
It will not repeat the code.
Yeah, so it's this compared to this, right?
Yep.
Okay, just some of the other things, notice that all of them have a break. Also notice that there is a default. So if none of these happen, you can have an optional default case, okay? That it's actually not a case at all. This will be the statements that run if none of these are true.
Like else.
Okay. Now, this shows you about I department once again. And let's see how that looks in a case statement. Okay, so here, we're taking I department. If it's 50, I department equals 15, it's going to do this. If it's equal to 25, it's going to do this. 35, so on and so forth. And then it's going to take that value of D bonus rate. By the way, D bonus needs to be declared outside of this. Okay. And it's going to take that and times it by the company sales. Another case to understand is this. If you don't put anything after a case statement, then both case R or case C are going to make discount percent 0.2. Okay, it'll fall down and do this one if it's case R. And then of course, if it was case C, it would still do this one. Okay, it's kind of like having an or statement. So in other words, if S customer type is R or C. Now we could also do that right here. We could actually put C right here as well. Okay. So there's different ways to do this. This is just another way. All right. So let's see how good you all are. And, you know, these are a few other things about the switch statement. You can, of course, return the same result for multiple case statements. And you can do a calculation for a case statement. Okay. So, so this is where where customer type is R, then it's going to do a less than equals subtotal times 0.2. This would return a number, okay? And then the underscore, I've never used the underscore. All right. Here's what I want you to do. No, we're not going to do the lecture. What I want you to do is I want you to do, and we'll do it, we can even do it together. I want to do this if statement. Okay? So we're going to do this if statement, okay? And you can kind of sort of follow along as I do it, but I'm going to kind of walk you through it, okay? So let's go ahead and bring up Visual Studio. Why's it got to be all the way at the bottom? You don't have to answer that question. All right. I'm going to create a new project. Okay, so I click on create new project. And in my case and in your case, we want to open up a C# project because, well, we're in C# class. And we're going to use the Windows platform, and we're going to make a desktop app. Okay. And then this is right down here. Okay. We're not using framework. We're just using this, which uses the dot. It uses the .NET Core. And I'm going to say next. And we're going to put our app, I'm going to put it under CIS 130. So my CIS 130 student is right there. I'm going to put it under practice. And I'm going to put it under playing around. But this time it's going to be chapter 5, playing around. All right. So I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to call this chapter 5, playing around. Okay. And let's go ahead and say next. We're using .NET 8.0. And we're going to create our project. And we slowly wait for it to come up. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to rename Form 1. Now, this is important. This is on your assignment. And this is where a lot of people have problems. We're going to rename it right here. But the one thing you need to do before you rename it, close your form. Okay, just close it. And now you can rename it and you should be fine. I'm saying rename, and I'm going to call it FRM Form 1. Okay. And it's going to ask me if I want to change everything that's referenced to Form 1. This is important because you in Visual Studio, you got code all over the place. So you want to make sure you say yes here. All right. And now we're going to bring up the designer form just by double clicking here. And right here, we could go rename this. We need to look at our properties. So we're going to go view properties window. And if we click anywhere on this form, we see that the text is named Form 1. Call this whatever you want. Form title bar. Okay. And as you can see, it changes it right here. Okay. All right. Now, we are going to need our tools because we need to add some stuff to this form. I want to add 2 labels, a text box, and a button. Okay. 2 labels, a text box, and a button. And I'll show you why we're going to do that. All right. So I need my toolbox. So I go here. And by the way, your toolbox won't come up or it won't be highlighted unless you're in your designer form. Okay. All right, and then, um, let's, go back to our toolbox. And let's do, we want our Windows to component, I believe. Okay. Let's try this again. I didn't like how it came up. View, toolbox. Again, I didn't get the toolbox I wanted up. Let me try this one more time. Make sure I'm here and all right. So I'll do a show all, and then we really only need our common controls. Let's try standard. No, let's try common. Let me close this down. Save. All right. Now let's double click on here. I've had this problem before. Oh, all window forms. Nope. Oh. All right. So let's try dragging this button. These should be highlighted. I don't know why it's not. Let me come back to this. So we got our Form 1 properties, and let's let me close this down and bring it back up. Close solution. Now let's bring it back up. Recent projects. Something. We might have to recreate this again. How crazy is that? Go back to Visual Studio, and we are going to use that, of course. Okay, now it's trying to bring it up. There's our form. Let's see now if we can bring up our toolbox. There we go. Why did it act up? I don't know. Sometimes Visual Studio just acts up. All right, so let's try two labels and a text box and a button. So I'm going to drag two labels here. There's one. There's two. Now, this label, we don't care what it's called, okay? But we just care what the text is going to be, and it's going to be test score. Okay. And I always like to put a colon after that. So, all right. This one, we do care what it's going to be because it's going to display our letter grade. Okay? And so let's make this, we can get rid of label 2. We don't really care about that. But since we're going to use it for to show some output, let's call it something significant. Let's call it LBL letter grade. Okay? LBL letter grade. Okay? Now, because we're going to allow it to show some output, we also want to change auto size to false. And when we use labels to show output, we need to give it a border, and it's fixed single. Okay. And now what we need a text box. So we go down here, let's find our text box. There it is. Let's put it right around here. Okay. And we do want to name our text box. And in our case, we're going to call it TXT because it's a text box, and we'll call it test score. Okay. Make sense? Everybody good with that? All right. And then our final thing we need to add is a button. So let's go get a button. Now, a button is right here. And we're going to call this button BTN calc. We'll say grade. Okay. And to make this button mean more, we're going to change the text in it to calc grade. Okay. Good with that? Everybody's got that? All right. Now, usually with a button, you're going to define an event. An event is something that's going to run when you click that button in this case. So if we look at the events for this button, currently there are no events for this button when we click it. What is an easy way to get to the code? Double click. Good. We could go to view code, but really the best way is to double click here, and it will actually create that method for that button. Okay. And there it is. And by the way, if we went back to our form design and we looked here, it actually puts it in for the click. You see that? So, all right. So we've created a method for this button click. And I would like to say that we're all done with our program, but we're not, are we? So let's just go through the steps that I would take to program this. Now remember, let's see if I can. Remember, we're looking at this. We want to put this code, or even this code, but we're going to go with this code because y'all like it better. We're going to put this code into our button click method. All right. But we're not going to start off there, are we? So what we want to do is let's put something in. Let's see if this button click will work at all. So let's go to LBL letter grade. And let's make its text equals, how about an A? How about we say everybody gets an A? Okay? And so what I would do as a programmer is I would test this out. See if my program works. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. No errors. I can type whatever I want in here, no big deal. Okay. But if I hit calc grade, this label, which is going to hold our output for the grade, should change. So let's go ahead and click it, and it does. So I'm happy my program worked thus far. And believe me, sometimes just getting your program to work is a challenge. Okay? Now I'm going to do some additional programming. So let's do an if statement. Okay? So I'm going to do an if statement right here. If, and look, IntelliSync tries to think what you're saying there, but that's not what we want. Okay? What we want is, we want to know if the test score is less than or equal less than 60. Okay. But we got to do something first. Okay. The first thing we need to do is we need to declare an integer. Okay. And we're going to call that integer int test score. And we're going to make it equal to the text box. So txt test score, and we're going to look at the text. Now this might even work, okay? And we'll try it like that, but we might have to parse it. So let's say we're going to do an if statement now. If int test score is less than less than 60. Okay. If it is, we're going to make this label equals equal an E, right? But if it's greater than 60, it's going to be something else. For right now, we'll just make it an E. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if this will run. Uh-oh, we got an error. Let's see what that error is. Oh, we can't implicitly convert a string to an integer. So we have to do what?
Use one of the
Parse.
flip flops.
We have to use parse. Okay. So we need to parse this to an integer. So we're going to do parse. I think it's int.parse. Int.parse. And we're going to put this, we're going to send this as a parameter to parse. Okay. Now let's try running it, see if it'll run. Uh-oh, still got a problem. Line 19. What did I do with line 19? Oh. So if, okay, that's good. That's good. Oh, it's looking for a brace. Okay. It's looking for a brace somewhere. We're missing a brace somewhere. Well, let's look at our example again and just see what we're missing here. Okay, so we should be good. So if int, and really these are some of the things I have to deal with as a programmer all the time, okay? Well, let's,
I think you're missing the closing bracket for.
what's going on?
I think you're missing the closing bracket for the button.
Oh, am I? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, you are correct, Muno. Yes, yes, yes. And that should be right here. Yeah, it's usually something stupid, right? So if I run it now, it compiles. And if I type in 59, it should give us an E. Okay. Well, what if I type in 61? Nothing. It left the E there. Okay. So we need an else statement here. And that's easy to put in. So we could just put in an else. Okay. And again, we can, you guys like to put these things on their own line, and I think that's a good idea. So let's do a brace. In this case, we're going to make the label. We'll just say if you don't get an E, you get an A. How's that sound? Sound good? Okay. Equals. Notice how IntelliSync tries to figure out what you should be typing. It's not always right. So right now we've tapped, we're going to handle that. So if we type in 59 here, we hit calc, we'll get the E, but if we type in 61, we're going to get an A. Okay. So now we just have to put in all the other letter grades, right? And so, I'm going to copy this else, and I'm going to make an else if statement. Okay. Else if int score is less than or equal to 70, then let's give that person a D. Okay. And I'm pretty confident that my code's going to work now. So I'm going to just copy this and do it several times. Now, I have no problem with, I keep on copying it for as many times as I might think I'll need, and then I can get rid of the other one. So let's do 80. That would be a C. Okay. 90. That would be, so D, C, B. And then other else will be, it'll be an A. Okay. So let's get rid of all the other ones. Oh, I gotta put B there. Okay, and now if we run this, oh, I have an error. What did I do wrong? Line 28.
Semicolon.
Oh, you are correct, Muno. So let's see, else. Line 28, it's expecting something.
Just need to refresh it.
Hmm?
Just need to refresh it. Because line 28 has a semicolon. Says semicolon expected.
Where?
Line 28. But I see it. It's right there.
Right there?
Yeah. Is it?
Well, see letter grade dot tech. Let's try compile. Let's see what happens. Maybe it'll be fine. Yep. It's a false reading. All right, so we can test that out. And look, when you want to test things, test the boundaries out. For example, what should a 70 be? Should be a C. But a 69 should be what? A D. And a 71 should be a what? A C. Okay. So we're happy that this is working, right? What can we do to make this better?
In which way?
What?
In which way?
In which way? Well, let's go ahead and run it. And maybe you can tell me what to do. What if I put in 90A? What's going to happen? Is it going to work? What's it going to do? It's going to blow up. So there it did. So obviously you don't want a user to see this. All right. So what we need to do is parse is going to try to put whatever you tell it to into an integer. If it can't, it just blows up. And it's all right for your program to blow up while you're testing it, but it's not all right for your program to blow up when you have it in what we call production. So what do we need to do? First, we need to stop the program because it's going to debug mode. And we need to switch this statement. Does anybody want to try to switch this statement for me? You want to?
I think you just changed the data type from an integer to like a car.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. But then I have to switch all these other ones though too. For example, if I made this a character, I would have to make all these number characters too by putting them in double quotes. There's a better way to do this. And by the way, it's on your assignment number 1. Anybody know? It's the try parse. Remember the try? Anytime you see a try, that means if something goes wrong, recover. God bless you. Try this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, do this, but don't blow up. Okay? So we're going to do the try parse here. Okay? And it's just it's a little bit different than the parse, right? So the first thing let's just try it. Okay, so we're going to try parse. Okay, now this is a different format, okay, than our parse statement. So what statement are we going, what variable are we going to try to parse? It's this one, of course.
This colon.
So we're going to try that one, okay? Okay. And if it works, we're going to put it to this variable. So we're not going to do this statement anymore, right? But what do we have to do? We have to create this variable. When we did the parse, we were declaring a variable. But now we don't have this variable declared and we'll just blow up again. In fact, it probably won't even compile. Because it doesn't have that. So we have to declare this variable. Okay. So we're going to declare it right here. So this is declaring that variable. And we are going to assign it 0. Okay. And now, what happens if we put in 90A here? Any guesses?
Will be zero.
It'll be 0, but what
Gonna
will
return
be?
the lowest value. E.
It'll be what?
Will be E or F. The last one you've done. The last letter you've.
Yeah, it'll be E.
E or F.
It won't be A, it'll be E.
Yeah.
Because 0 is less than what?
Yeah.
60.
Actually, I've done F on my program.
What?
I put an F here.
F? You put an F in?
Yeah.
We don't give out Fs. It turns to E. So now, obviously, what you might do here is you might do some additional code here. For example, if int test score equals 0, then I might tell the user to re-enter that text box. Okay? So there are a lot of things you can do with that. Okay, so this all works. Wonder- Let me try something. Oh, my fault. All right. Here's what I want you to, oh, and by the way, we could, let's switch it to the easy code, right? So if we go back to let's put this code in. Let's see if I can just copy it. All right, so if I go back to my program, I can get rid of all this and just put this in. Okay? And this should work just fine. Although I do have an extra brace. And again, I like the idea of indenting these. Okay? Doesn't matter, it'll still work.
It will not work.
Okay. Yeah?
It won't work because we don't have iScore. We should change variables.
It doesn't. Oh, you are correct. All right. So let's just go ahead and put that in there. You know, and I know I could change them all at once. I got it. I'm not. And there's one last thing I need to change. Anybody know?
The SC grade, the other
Yep.
variable.
Yeah, you're right. And so let's just go ahead and put that in. All right, let's try this. Let's see if it'll work without any errors. All right, so if I put 70 in, it should be a C, correct? Oh, whoops. I'm changing this. So I need to change that. So let's fix that. Actually, it should be the label. I don't know why. So this should be label letter grade. Okay. The reason I go through this with you is that I want you to see how I think, you know, and why I do things the way I do things, why I don't care when things blow up. And that I'm not perfect. So let's try it again. And we'll hit test. Okay, it works. All right. All right, I did all that. But now, you know what? I think the switch statement might be better for this. Okay, so let's make this a switch statement. They're like, we did all this work to make it like this. Now you want us to switch it to a switch statement? Yeah. Now, what I would do in this case is that I know this code works, but there might be a better way to do it. So what I would do is I would comment this out. I would never delete this because it's working. Okay. Only once I got the switch statement to work would I delete this out. All right. So let's go ahead and program a switch statement. So switch. Okay. And what are we looking at? In test score, of course, same thing we were looking at before. Okay. All right. Now we got to start programming this. And the way we do this is we're going to put in different case statements. Okay. So, what would be the first case statement I might try?
Be 60.
Be 60, yeah. So, let's put in a case. $60. Okay. And what would we do there? Well, we'd make this equal to E. Okay, so, and remember we need the break statement. So let's put the break statement in, put it in for us. And now, before we go to programming and everything, let's put in a default. Right? The default. And let's make the default E. I mean an A. How's that? Everybody gets an A. All right. So let's see if this would work. Okay. So if we go ahead and run it, we got errors right away. All right. So let's put in, let's go and look at our example. Okay, default statements, break. Oh, we need a break. Okay. All right. Again, I'm not a proponent of somebody who says you have to always remember code because you can always look things up, right? Okay. Let's see if it'll run now. Oh, it did run. All right, let's try 60. And it ran. Let's try 59. It's an A. How can 59 give me an A and a 60 give me an E? What did we do?
Because in switch, it only, in switch case, it only takes the value, the exact value.
You could only take the value 60.
Yeah, the exact value, it doesn't take like a range of values.
Yeah, so how do we do that?
Can we use like other like greater than, less than values here?
How about we try something really simple?
Yeah, greater than,
Less than.
okay, less than, so to get E.
Let's see if that'll work. Look, seriously, I don't always know if something's going to work or not. I just try things. Okay. Now, to be honest with you, I did try this earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but when I'm programming, I just try stuff and see if it works sometimes. Okay. And if I type in 60, it should be a
E.
A. If I type in 59, it should be E.
Okay.
Because we only put two things in. See, so, and again, I'm going to go back to the code.
So this was
Instead of typing everything in and being wrong, I start with a small example of it.
yeah, I see.
And I go, okay, this works. And I put the rest in. Okay. And so now I know that this will all work. So I'll copy that and then copy it multiple times. Then I'll just go through it. I'll go to 70.
You also said that case can be an expression,
Say that again?
that case can have an expression, so we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said it with the,
Yeah.
like,
So we could use the expression.
yeah,
So now remember what this is saying, okay? It's saying int score is less than 70. Int score is less than 80. Okay? That's what's going on here. Okay? Int score is less than 90. Okay? And then, of course, we don't need this additional one. All we need is a default. Okay, and if we run it, if we ought to run it, just make sure we don't have any syntax errors. We can try 89. That should be what? A B. And we could try 91. That should be what? An A. Okay? So our code has worked. Now, what we could do, let's say I don't have any code for the case less than 60. Okay? I commented out, but I don't have any code. So it's case less than 60, and then right after that, case less than 70. Okay? Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens.
Both of them will be D.
What if I put in, what grade will I get if I put in 59?
Both of them will be D.
What?
Would be D. D, the letter D.
You are correct. Let's see, though. You are right. So, again, this is like having an AND case. Okay? So we could do something like that. Let's try one more little test. Okay? Why? Because I'm interested in it. Okay? All right, how many people know I like to play around? I do. Okay, let's create another, let's declare another variable. Okay? Let's call it int test score 2. Okay? We'll set it equal to 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make int test score 2 equals int test score. Okay? Are we good with that? And then what we're going to do here is we're going to int who thinks this will work? Who wants to bet me? All right. I can't bet. That would be against instructor etiquette, right? But it's called, because this is an expression, it should work.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's looking for a Boolean here. Let's try this. Nope. Let's try if we are not going to get this to work. Okay. So no, we can't get to work. All right. So I'm good. I tried. And by the way, you of course would never do this anyways. It wouldn't make any kind of sense. All right. All right. Hopefully y'all are programming right along with me. Okay. That's why we do these things. All right, it's back to working. We're good. All right, let's go back to our notes. Let's see if we can make it a little bit farther than my previous class. All right, so again, you can see how to do things here. Different ways how to do it. I'll go over the labs in the video, but let's try some compound ifs. So everybody knows what a compound condition is. It's where you have more than one Boolean expression. Okay? More than one Boolean expression. If you have one, it's not compound, right? But when you have more than one, it is a compound Boolean expression. All right. So let's go over this a little bit. And of course, I know you've seen this before. When you got the two ampersand, this is an ampersand. Okay? That's an and statement. Okay? When you have the two vertical lines, that's an or statement. Okay? Now you can do one ampersand, one vertical line, and that will work fine. It just, if you once these are acted upon, it'll do a short circuit. In other words, for example, if it finds one of the and conditions to be false, it already knows every condition will be false. That whole statement will be false, and it will stop. It will return the value, the Boolean value of false. Same thing with the or. If it finds one of the ors is true, then the whole expression is true. Okay. Usually you're going to use these. They work, they're quicker. Okay. You also have the not again. And here's some examples of that. Okay. And you do not have to compare the same variables. Okay. As you can see, one's S gender here, and another one's D sales. They're different data types even, but they are Boolean expressions, right? They return a Boolean value. And then, of course, the not. If D sales is less than or equal to 1,000, and then it has to be not, which means it would be greater than 1,000. Now, that's a good way to confuse yourself, but anyways, you could do that. Okay? All right. Now, important to note. Well, let's go to this page. You can have many of these. You can have as many of these compound Boolean expressions as you want. Let me ask you a question. This first one, would this compound expression return true or false?
We have to evaluate it.
Yeah, if you evaluate, look, assuming these values right here.
First one would be true, okay?
So is A less than 20?
True,
I mean, less than 50.
yeah, true.
Okay, so that's true. Is C greater than B?
No, false. Oh, yeah, see, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, true.
Is B less than 0?
Yes, true.
So what would the whole expression be? The compound
True.
expression? True. All right. Let's look at the next one. Is A greater than 50?
False,
Okay. Is A greater than C?
false,
Is B less than C? But not less than A? Is B less than A?
True.
Okay, so what would the compound expression be?
False.
True.
True?
Yeah, remember, and everything has to be true, or just one thing has to be true. Hmm?
I said only one came out true and the rest of them was false.
Yeah. So because it was an or, only one has to be true.
Yeah, oh, I thought and, yeah, I see, yeah, you're right.
So with an or, only one has to be true. So, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, I mean, these are good examples, I guess. All right. All right, so let's look at the next one. We won't look at all of them. Is not B greater than C? Now remember that the not's going to be done first. So is B greater than C? So that's false, but because it's a not, it makes the whole thing true.
Yeah, would be true.
All right.
Opposite others.
Is E greater than D?
And 65. No, false.
Well, I don't think it's going to work. And let's try that out.
Yeah, you just need to check the number, the ASCII code, the unique character, Unicode character.
So let's
A
see.
would be 65, all right?
Let's go look.
No, A97. 65, 97, one of those.
So what we're going to do is we're going to make a whole nother area in our program. Okay. And we're going to use that calc button again. Okay. So A is going to be an int. Okay. And it's going to be assigned 20. B is going to be an int, right? And it's going to be assigned -5. That's still an integer, even though it's a negative number. Okay. Okay. That'll be equal to 100. Now these are strings, right?
Yeah, they are.
So string, okay, D, and we're going to make it equal to carrots, but we're going to use this quote right here because it won't work with that that one. Okay. And then same thing here. Now, how many people think I'm weird because I like to program? I actually like doing this stuff. All right. All right, so we're going to write that statement out. But first thing we have to do is let's make a label. Okay, and we're going to just put this, put another label out there, and we're going to call it, we'll call it our Boolean label. We'll just call it, let's see. So let's go to, we'll call it LBL true or false. How's that? Okay. And we're going to make the auto size false. We're going to give it a border style of thick single. And we're going to give it no label at all. No text at all. Okay. So this is going to be our true or false. And when we hit calc, we'll also figure this out. Sound good? All right. So let's go look at that tough statement. So what was it? If parentheses. Okay. And then we did the not. B greater than C. Okay. And then we did an and. E greater than D. Okay. And then we did an or. So let's do the or. And this is A greater than C. Okay. All right. So we can, let's go ahead and do this. We don't need the braces here. We won't use them for in this case. So if this statement is true, we want to change
Label six will be changed.
TXT equals,
True or false?
well, equals true. Okay. Else
But would be set to false.
I'm going to put this on its own line just because I like to be consistent. So let's see what happens here. Does anybody want to bet me? Oh, I forgot we can't bet. Let's see.
Don't you not need to add semicolons?
Whoop.
The semicolons after the variables.
Braces or
Semicolons.
let's see, where at? Right.
After each variable.
Oh, wait, here?
Yeah, from 57 to 41.
So,
You can just use comma.
oh, semicolon.
Comma.
Yeah,
You
you're
can also
correct.
use comma, right? Separate between them.
Well,
I know, yeah.
semicolon.
Yeah, you can use semicolon for each line. If you want to declare them at the same line, you can use comma.
Oh, yeah, we probably could. We probably could, but they'd all have to be, you could only do that
On the same line.
like here. So we could do comma. They all have to be the same data type. Okay, so we can, and we gotta get rid of the data type because, yeah, but that is correct. Good catch. And we could do the same thing here, in fact. This would be a way of saving room, right? All right, but let's go ahead and run this, see what happens. Let's see what happens. Would you like to continue? No. All right, see, it won't even allow this to compile. You see that? All right. So it won't even allow this to compile because you can't do this. Okay, so what we could do is we could say equals, okay, and then it would work. Okay, and if we did calc, we would get false. Why is it false? Because the ands, so the not always goes first, the ands go second, and the ors go last. Okay, so and let's see, is
So in C sharp, you cannot do like a string greater than another string.
hmm?
You cannot write like string is greater than another string in C sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
However, in Python it can be done, because Python will convert each letter of it to ASCII code.
well, that it just doesn't do it. Some of them, some languages you can.
Yeah, like Python.
Python,
Yeah, Python.
also SQL. Yeah. So SQL would do it. Okay. Now I changed this from 20 to 200. Let's see if this works now.
Yeah, it will be true.
Will it be true?
Yeah.
Let's see. You are right. Yeah, because again, the not goes first, the ampersands go second, and the ors go third. Okay. All right. So we've had fun playing around today. Well, I don't know if you did, but I did. All right, let me talk a little bit about the assignment. Any questions about the toe chart? Do the toe chart first. Okay. And in this case, the only things that are going to be events are going to be the buttons down here. Okay? So the calc button, the clear button, and the exit button. Okay? And of course, you have to program all of those. But most of your coding is going to be done in your calculate button. Okay? But don't code yet. After you do that, then go ahead and make your app. Okay? And with your app, remember this. Close your form and rename it. Don't try to rename it and have it open,
Why is that?
because it won't change it. And what you got to remember is that every object informs an object. That name, that class name is all over your program. That object name is all over your program. So don't change it. God bless you. All right. And then just walk through all this. Remember how we did the try parse. Okay. Do not use the parse method, because your program could blow up. So we just did the try parse. As far as constants, figure out what variables will not be changing. Okay. And I forgot to do this, but you can even make defaults. For example, if I wanted a default of projected number of items next year, you know, I can make this one a constant. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? So 1 plus annual increase rate. Okay? So you might make this 1 equal to a constant. You use constant when you may programmatically want to change them down the road, but they're not going to change within your program. So it's a variable, but it's called a constant because by the very definition of variable, that means it can change. Okay, that's why we call it constant. And remember to use all uppercase when you define a constant. Okay. And then you could try creating a couple a splash form. Okay, it's kind of fun to do. All right. Yeah. And if you have any problems, we'll meet before this is actually due. Okay. So Mimi, you're going to be able to do all these things? I mean, where are you going to do it at? Okay. Okay. All right.
Is there like a lobby here? I can go and use the computer?
Yeah. You can use these computers here. Now you got to make sure that you're saving it to a flash drive or whatever if you're going from one place to another, okay? You can save it as a zip file too. All right, so that's what we got going on. Any questions or comments? All right, I'm going to stop the recording.